welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Stephen Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today for the April 6th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditations. And again, loving April so far. It's been so good, reminded me of so many things. And I really like the perspective he gave us on the law of justice yesterday. You know, it's the law of justice. It can be reworded as you reap what you sow, right? Like if you put good into the world, you will give good back. Those types of things, you know. But that is governed by your thoughts, your deeds, and your heart. And so it was a beautiful just reminder of that. And I loved the way he said it. We cannot be, we can't be upset at the consequences of our negative actions if we enjoy the consequences of our good actions, right? If we get if we enjoy the results of our good deeds, we will have to accept and endure the results of our bad deeds. So I'm looking forward to see what the 6th brings us, and this will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning this will be my first time hearing it on this podcast as I read it. So you'll get my genuine response, reaction, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. April 6th of James Allen's Daily Meditations. Seers of the cosmos, do not mourn over the scheme of things. Buddha always referred to the moral law of the universe as the good law. And indeed it is not rightly perceived if it is thought of as anything but good. For in it there can be no grain of evil, no element of unkindness. It is no iron-hearted monster crushing the weak and destroying the ignorant, but a soothing love and brooding compassion, shielding the tenderest from harm, and protecting the strongest from a too destructive use of their strength. It destroys an evil, it preserves a good. It unfolds the tiniest seedling in its care. It enfolds the tiniest seedling in its care. And it destroys the most colossal wrong with a breath. To perceive it is the beatific vision. To know it is the beatific bliss. And they who perceive and know it are at peace. They are glad forevermore. The wise man bends his will and subjects his desire to divine order. So, excuse me, I stumbled over a word there. I'd never seen that one before. It's beatific. Blissfully happy. Beatific. And the blissfully happy, to perceive it is beatific vision, blissfully happy vision. To know it is beatific bliss, blissfully happy bliss. Just tons of joy, ecstasy. So here we go. And 1 second here. And so, yeah, I enjoyed that. The wise man bends his will and subjects his desire to the divine order. So he opens this up with the seers of the cosmos do not mourn over the scheme of things. It's kind of like when you have the big picture, when you have the truths and the understandings, the little schemes of life, or the way things play out, or the way things are in this immediate moment, they lose their level of significance. When you have the understanding that everything's going just the way it's supposed to be going, and it's my job to be of service and to practice the principles of spirituality in my life, it's a lot easier to accept these things. It's been my experience. So we do not mourn over the scheme of the cosmos. We allow it to happen, and we embrace the opportunities that come with it. He says, Buddha always referred to the moral law of the universe as the good law. So the law of good. The moral code of conduct we have to follow, the spiritual life we have to walk. All referring to that same idea of living a spiritual way of life. And indeed it is not rightly perceived if it is thought of as anything but good. For there can be no grain of evil, no element of kindness. That's an interesting concept because a lot of people like to perceive the evil, or they perceive this, or they perceive that. Like a lot of things that have a really negative connotation associated with them, or a negative experience associated with them. And for this, it's really saying for no weak grain perceived if it is thought of anything that the law of the universe, the law of this world we live in. Sorry, I lost the wording and I was trying to find it on the page again there. Bear with me on that one. But that it can only be good. The law that is displaying for us what's going on in our lives. Maybe we're supposed to learn a lesson from it for ourselves. It's a result of our own actions, or maybe the universe or God or whatever you believe to be true is working in your life in such a way that you might not understand it. And that's why we do not mourn the scheme of things. We don't mourn the plan or the results of the actions, the current state of the things that are going on. It is no iron-hearted monster crushing the weak and destroying the ignorant. You're talking about the law, the good law right now. It's not a destroyer. It's not a does not inflict evil. It does not inflict pain. The law of good. These things are human. But the good law is but a soothing love and brooding compassion, shielding the tenderest from harm and protecting the strongest from a too destructive use of their strength. That's an interesting line right there, isn't it? Because I believe earlier on we were reading one of these daily meditations, and it said that the strong do not conquer, they protect the weaker, or something to that effect. And that is our duty when we find these strengths. But here it's saying the law of good will even defend the strong against themselves, so they do not destroy themselves. And that's a really interesting perspective to actually see written down, that the law of the universe, the law of good, will actually protect us from ourselves. And keep the ego in check. Practice some humility, honesty, these things. Don't let it be overinflated. It destroys an evil. It preserves a good. That's the law of good we're talking about again. It destroys the evil. It preserves the good. It enfolds the tiniest seedling in its care and destroys the most colossal wrong with a breath. Everything will come back one day. Everything will come back to haunt them. Whether it's an individual, an institution, whatever you may be arguing with in your head. It is like how it's a caring law. And it has our best interests in mind, if we want to personify it like that. To perceive it, which means to intellectually understand it, like know it in your mind, it is a beatific vision, just blissful, lovely, extravagant, exquisite, whatever you'd like to call it. And then to know it, meaning we've had experience with this law, meaning we've had this intimate knowing of what the world is actually like, the laws that govern this universe, and how this is going to turn out. It gives us a sense of peace and clarity, and it gives us a sense of bliss, amazing and perfect bliss. And they who perceive and know it are at peace. They are glad forevermore. So I believe people can see it and not know it. I believe people don't even realize when they're only just putting that in the mind for later. When they perceive and known. When they perceive it and when they perceive and know it, are at peace. That's where it comes from. It comes from the practice. It comes from the taking of the actions to a point where we become so confident in you're so confident in knowing the God of our understanding, or the good in the world, the law of good, whatever you might want to call it. There's freedom in that. There's peace there. We are glad forevermore. So there's joy and there's happiness in that knowing as well. And I can attest to that today too. He goes ahead and closes it with a pretty straightforward statement. The wise man bends his will and subjects his desire to the divine order, which means the spiritual lifestyle, which means the spiritual way of living. That's a pretty impressive thing to be written. And still have, actually. So anyway, thank y'all for joining me today on April 6th. I really appreciate y'all's time today. Thank you so much for just being a part of this whole thing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what tomorrow's brings. And we will go from there. So thank y'all so much. Until next time. Thanks.